So Gardner Minshew is expected to be the starting quarterback, despite all of the controversy and the horrible outcome of the Carolina Panthers. He is still expected to be the quarterback for this week's game against the Cleveland Browns. And this is according to Vincent Bolsignor, Adam Schefter, and some other NFL insiders. My source within the Raiders has not heard one way or the other. So we're just going to have to wait and see what's going to happen right now. But I just wanted to talk just a second about if Gardner Minshew is still going to be the QB1, how big of a leash does he have? If we go and put up another L against the Cleveland Browns, I think that will pretty much be the nail in the coffin, and Gardner Minshew will never play another snap for the Las Vegas Raiders, barring any injuries of Aiden O'Connell, and it will be Aiden O'Connell's team moving forward for the rest of the season, for better or worse. I don't understand if the Raiders are still considering keeping Gardner Minshew, even for this game. I don't understand the reasoning behind it. Again, yes, he has a high percentage of completions. Great. However, when you go and look at it, most of those completions are also behind the line of scrimmage. They're for negative yards. The yards that he gets is simply because of the run after the catch. And Aiden O'Connell doesn't do that. Aiden O'Connell pushes the ball down the field with ease. Now, not always. Last season, he had a couple of games where he struggled against some very dominant defenses in the Kansas City Chiefs and the Minnesota Vikings. However, that being said, outside of those two games, he put up very respectable numbers for a rookie. Let's look at Will Levis. Right now, Will Levis is absolutely atrocious. And everybody was saying that the Raiders, not everybody, but a lot of people were saying that the Raiders should have gotten Will Levis, that we should have drafted him. And I said Will Levis is not that great of a quarterback. Everybody was saying that you should have went and got this guy or that guy. Well, here's what we have. We have Aiden O'Connell. We have Gardner Minshew. And no, Anthony Brown Jr. is not the answer, or Gus Bradley's son, Carter Bradley. They're not the answer. We may not have an answer at quarterback, and that's the cold, hard truth that we simply got to come to, grips with. The Las Vegas Raiders are in a bad situation right now. We have a head coach who is seemingly starting to seem like maybe he's not in control of this team. Maybe he's not in control of his coaching staff. Maybe some of his coaching staff don't respect him as a head coach because he hasn't won anything as a head coach. He doesn't have the experience, the authority. And maybe there's some butting of heads going on. We don't know what's happening inside. But I do know this. If Gardner Minshew is still named QB1 in week 4, I don't think Antonio Pierce is in control of this team. Either that or maybe Antonio Pierce really doesn't know what he's doing. Though that's just my opinion, and I know that a lot of you share that opinion. So if you do share that opinion, comment down below and show me some support, because I get a lot of heat for the AOC take. And I know that there are other Raiders podcasters out there who are in love with Gardner Minshew and think Minshew Mania is a real thing. And they have much bigger channels than me. And me and a couple of other guys, like All Aboard Raiders, my boy over there, we have a different opinion. And that opinion was crapped on by a lot of other YouTubers. But I think the proof is in the pudding. We are 1-2. And the one solo shot that Aiden O'Connell got, it was garbage time. I understand that. But the one shot that he got, he took it. And he took it to the house. But he wasn't perfect in that drive by any means. But he was about as good as you could possibly get. I mean, the guy's making $50, $60 million a year. Who looked worse than Aiden O'Connell? Trevor Lawrence is an absolute garbage quarterback, and he's making $55 million a year. So I think that Aiden O'Connell absolutely deserves a shot. I think that depending on season goes, Antonio Pierce, if he cannot figure this thing out, we may have another head coach next year. Just being honest. The get the Raiders back to Raiders culture, I loved it. The boosting up the players, I loved it. His fearlessness to snap back at the national media, loved it. But at the end of the day, if you can't win games because you're making poor coaching decisions, then do we need you here with the Raiders? Do we need a head coach who gets us going rah, rah, Raiders, but loses week after week because he fails to understand who is a better quarterback? He fails to understand who is a better linebacker. I mean, my goodness, Luke Masterson looked horrible. We know Luke Masterson's a good football player, but he's not a great football player. He is a backup linebacker in the NFL, not a starter. We know Divine Diablo makes really big plays sometimes, but most of the time he gets whiffed. Why is Amari Gaynor not out there? Amari Gaynor may or may not be better than either one of these guys. But when the bar is so low at linebacker, and from a coach who was a linebacker, you mean to tell me that Antonio Pierce cannot see that Divine Diablo is not a good, consistent linebacker in the NFL? You mean to tell me that he can't see that Luke Masterson is subpar? It's not bad. I'm not dogging Luke, but Luke Masterson is not Robert Spillane. And Robert Spillane is not the best linebacker in the NFL. He's good. He's underrated. But he's not the best. Amari Gaynor has the potential. He has the skill and the athleticism to be a great linebacker in the NFL. I said this in a video before we even picked him up as an undrafted free agent, that Amari Gaynor was a sleeper. And he showed that in practice, and he showed it in preseason, making big play after big. He's been doing great in special teams. So I'm not quite sure. I'm not 100% sure what's going on inside that building with Antonio Pierce and the staff. But to me, it seems like there's somebody else in charge of what's going on other than Antonio Pierce. Because I love Antonio Pierce. So I've got to give him the benefit of the doubt that these decisions are coming from above him. That he's being put in a corner. He's being told, if you don't do X, you're going to be axed. So you are going to put Gardner Minshew in there. Maybe that's Tom Telesco telling him that. Maybe that's Mark Davis telling him that. I don't know. I want to make excuses for our coach because I love the coach. But those excuses are only going to play along for so long. At some point, if Antonio Pierce cannot figure this thing out, Antonio Pierce will have to go just like every other coach who can't figure it out. No matter how much we love him as a Raider fan that he is, he'll always be a part of the nation. We'll always embrace Antonio Pierce. But you're the head coach of a multi-billion-dollar organization. If you can't figure out what players to put out there, if you couldn't figure out that Thayer Munford is not good, if you couldn't figure that out in preseason, and from what we've seen from DJ Glaze as a rookie, what he was able to do against Max Crosby in practice, if you can't figure that he's better than Thayer Munford, there's a problem there. Now, the only reason why we got to see DJ Glaze in that game, which he played admirably, is because Thayer Munford got hurt. And so they were forced to go with DJ Glaze. And lo and behold, the right side of the line suddenly got better. JPJ went in at right guard. Oh my goodness. All of a sudden, the right side of that line looks pretty darn good. Not great, not spectacular, but just doing their job, holding their blocks for the expected amount of time. If we see Thayer Munford out there again this week, if his injury allows him to play, if it was minor, I'm going to pull my hair out. Because I've been saying this. Thayer Munford's not good. He has never been good. He is not going to be good. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, but our offensive line stinks. Even Colton Miller stinks right now. Now, I think Colton Miller has the skill and the intelligence as a left tackle that as soon as he gets into better football shape, and hopefully that will be sooner rather than later, he'll be back to form, unless he's still hurt. If he's still hurt and he's just hiding it, then it's going to be a problem. But if he's not hurt, if his shoulder's fine, Kolton Miller will get back into form, maybe within the next couple of weeks. But remember, Kolton Miller missed the entire offseason. No practice, no training, no strength training, couldn't do anything. He had shoulder surgery. So it's going to take him a little bit of time to get back to being Kolton Miller. But I think Kolton Miller is such a good player at left tackle. He is a Pro Bowler. He is really, really good, that only a matter of time before he gets back into form. The big question mark is going to be at left guard with Cody Whitehair, who is atrocious. He is terrible. He does not even deserve to be a backup in the NFL. I'm sorry, Cody Whitehair, if you see this, it's nothing against you personal, but bro, you're not a starter. You're not a starter in the NFL. So we need to fix that. Dylan Parham's been playing fairly good. Not great. He's given up a few things, and he hasn't been able to get, a bunch of holes and stuff like that for the run game, but pass blocking has been pretty decent. I don't know why they put JPJ at right guard and pulled Dylan Parham out. I don't know if he's got an injury or what's going on. AP didn't really elaborate on that, but I think Dylan Parham should be back at right guard. I think DJ Glaze should be at right tackle, and I think JPJ should take over Cody Whitehair's job at left guard. And then our weak point is going to be Andre James, which, it always has been and will continue to be because we paid him a bunch of money and locked him into a contract for absolutely no reason. You could move Dylan Parham over to center, which has been floated, but then you still have the issue of right guard then, and because JPJ needs to be at left guard, though he played really good at right guard, so I don't know. But whatever they're going to do with that offensive line, they need to make some changes. I hope we're going to see some changes, and I hope we're going to see some better offensive line play.